Find a comfortable position. Let your body settle into its weight. Allow your breathing to even out. There is no destination to reach tonight, no arrival to consider. The journey has already slowed. The path will carry itself. When you are ready, we begin. Tonight's story is called A Gentle Journey Over Highland Passes at Dusk. The road begins without announcement. It is narrow and lightly worn, a pale ribbon of gravel that lifts almost imperceptibly from the valley floor. At first, the incline is so gradual it feels like level ground, but after a few steady steps, the shift becomes clear in the calves and ankles. Not strain, just awareness. Your hand rests loosely around the halter rope of the hill pony walking beside you. The rope carries a gentle weight, neither taut nor slack. The pony moves with a steady, unhurried rhythm, its hooves landing softly against the gravel with a sound that blends into the quiet air. Gravel presses beneath your boots in small, irregular patterns. Some stones settle, others shift slightly before finding balance again. Each step produces a faint crunch, dry, textured, consistent. The sound does not echo, it stays close to the ground. To your left, a stone wall runs alongside the road. The stones are uneven in size and shape, fitted together by patient hands long ago. Lichen has gathered in the small seams between them, pale green against the deeper gray. The wall still holds the warmth of the day's sun. When your fingers brush its surface, the stored heat feels mild and steady beneath your palm. The air at this lower elevation carries the last of the afternoon's warmth. It rests gently on your shoulders and along the back of your neck. There is no sharpness in it yet, only a gradual thinning of heat as the sun begins its slow descent somewhere behind the hills. The pony exhales once softly. A small cloud of breath disperses quickly in the air, barely visible. Its ears tilt forward and then settle again. The rhythm of its movement remains unchanged. The road curves slightly to the right, not a dramatic bend, just a natural adjustment following the contour of the land. Ahead, the gravel continues upward between low stretches of grass and scattered patches of heather. The heather is not yet dense at this elevation. It appears in small clusters, purple muted by distance and light. You shift your grip on the rope without breaking stride. The fibers feel worn smooth from use. There is a faint scent of leather from the pony's tack, subtle, clean, familiar. The valley behind you remains open and wide. Fields lie in layered greens, softened by distance. No need to look back yet. The road asks only for the next step forward. A faint breeze moves across the slope. It touches your sleeve and passes on. The movement is light enough that the grasses respond more than you do. Their tips sway in a shallow wave before settling again. Your boots find a steadier rhythm with the pony's hooves. Two different sounds, but aligned in pace. Gravel under sole, gravel under hoof. A quiet alternation that continues without variation. The stone wall rises slightly higher beside you, then lowers again as the ground shifts. Your hand trails once more along its surface. The warmth is less pronounced now, though still present. The day is loosening its hold. A small stone shifts beneath your heel and settles again. The warmth in the wall fades another fraction beneath your palm. The pony's shoulder stays level beside yours. The road holds its shallow angle without variation, and you take one slow, even breath. The road begins its first true curve a little further on. It does not turn sharply. It leans gently and continuously, following the natural fold of the hillside. The gravel shifts in tone here, lighter where it has been recently pressed by hooves and boots, darker along the edges where finer dust has settled. You feel the curve before you fully see it. Your body adjusts in small increments, left shoulder slightly forward, right foot angling to follow the bend. The pony matches the shift without guidance. The halter rope remains relaxed between you. Heather grows thicker along this stretch. It brushes lightly against your sleeve as you pass. The stems are thin but resilient, bending and returning upright after contact. The scent is faint, earthy, dry, almost sweet when the breeze moves across it. You reach up with your free hand and adjust the strap of your satchel. It has slipped slightly against your shoulder during the incline. The leather is warm where it has rested against your coat. You lift it, settle it back into place, and smooth the strap flat across your chest. The wind moves differently here. At the lower road, it passed gently across open ground. Along this curve, it gathers more direction as it flows along the slope. It presses lightly against your side for a moment before easing away. The sound shifts too, not louder, just broader. It carries across the heather in a low, continuous hush. The pony's hooves strike gravel in a steady, four-beat rhythm. One stone rolls briefly under its weight, clicking softly before settling. The pony adjusts its footing without breaking pace. Its ears flick once toward the wind, then forward again. The stone wall from earlier has lowered now, replaced by shorter stretches of rock partially overtaken by moss. Some stones sit loose along the roadside, as though placed there temporarily and forgotten. The curve opens slowly, revealing more of the rising pass ahead. The road narrows slightly where grass presses inward from both sides. It does not feel confined, only shaped. Heather brushes again against your sleeve, this time catching lightly at the cuff before releasing. You smooth the fabric down absent-mindedly, feeling the texture of the weave beneath your fingers. Far above, along the higher slope, a faint movement catches the edge of sight, perhaps a distant sheep shifting position. No clear shape yet, just a pale interruption against darker ground. You press your thumb briefly into the seam of your glove, flattening a fold before letting your hand fall again. The pony remains at your side, its shoulder aligned with your own. The shared pace continues without variation. The air begins its subtle cooling. It is not sudden, just a gradual thinning of warmth as the afternoon loosens further. The sun has lowered enough now that shadows stretch slightly longer across the road's edge. They remain soft-edged and diffuse. Your boots press into gravel that feels marginally firmer here. Less loose stone, more compacted earth beneath. The sound underfoot deepens from crunch to a quieter, steadier compression. The bend continues to unfold, revealing another gentle rise beyond it. No steepness, no demand, just continuation. The wind moves once more across the slope, carrying the faintest trace of grass and distant peat. The heather leans collectively, then returns upright in small, individual recoveries. You do not look back, you do not look ahead for distance. You simply follow the curve as it presents itself. The pony's breathing remains even. The rope remains light in your hand. The road completes its slow turn and continues upward, and you take one slow, steady breath. The road narrows slightly as it approaches a boundary wall. The stones rise again here, stacked higher and more deliberately, forming a clear division between the open slope below and the higher grazing ground beyond. The gravel thins near the entrance, giving way to packed earth smoothed by repeated crossings. A wooden hill gate stands set into the wall. It is simple in construction, weathered boards held together by horizontal braces. The wood has faded to a muted silver gray, grain lifted slightly by years of wind and rain. Iron hinges hold it in place, darkened but solid. You slow your steps as you near it. The pony slows too without prompting. The halter rope remains easy between you. Its hooves settle into stillness with a final, quiet shift of stone beneath weight. You step forward and place your hand against the top rail of the gate. The wood feels dry and cool beneath your palm. Not cold yet, just absent of the day's earlier warmth. The grain is slightly rough, ridged where the surface has worn. The latch rests in a simple wooden loop. You lift it carefully. The movement produces a soft wooden click as it releases, a clean, contained sound that sits briefly in the air before fading. Nothing metallic, nothing sharp. You ease the gate inward. It swings with measured resistance, hinges turning without protest. The arc is slow and even. The earth beneath it has been worn smooth in a shallow crescent from years of use. You guide it wide enough to create space without excess. The pony waits beside you, head level, ears relaxed. When you step forward again, it follows calmly, hooves pressing into the packed earth just inside the boundary. The sound changes subtly, less gravel now, more compacted soil. You walk through first, turning slightly to keep the rope from brushing against the gate's edge. The fibers slide smoothly in your hand. The pony passes the threshold without hesitation. Once both of you are clear, you reach back and draw the gate closed. The wood meets the post with a muted contact. You lift the latch again and settle it back into place. The small wooden loop drops into position with another soft click. No echo, no emphasis, just completion. For a moment, you rest your hand against the top rail again. The surface feels a fraction cooler than before, as though the elevation beyond the wall holds thinner air. Beyond the boundary, the slope continues upward in a wider, more open sweep. Heather grows more densely here, clustered in deeper patches of purple and brown. The road resumes in front of you, narrowing slightly as it threads between stone and grass. The valley below remains visible through gaps in the wall behind, but you do not turn. The gate stands closed. The division is quiet and complete. The pony shifts its weight once, a small settling movement through its shoulder. You feel the subtle tug in the rope and adjust your grip gently, aligning again with its steady pace. A breeze passes along the wall, moving over the top stones and through the heather beyond. It carries a faint dryness, a hint of cooler ground. The latch rests in place. The air beyond the wall feels a shade cooler. The road continues as it did before. You step forward again. The pony walks beside you. The boundary wall recedes gradually behind, and you take one slow, even breath. Beyond the gate, the road resumes its quiet ascent. The incline becomes a little more noticeable here, not steep, not demanding, simply present. Your calves register the upward shift with each step. The movement remains measured. Boots press into gravel and compacted soil in alternating rhythm with the pony's hooves. Hoof, step, hoof, step. The pattern settles into something dependable. The halter rope rests lightly between your hand and the pony's head, never pulling, never slack enough to trail. The fibers move slightly with each shared stride. The brightness softens along the gravel. It is not yet dusk, but the afternoon brightness has softened. The sun lowers enough that shadows stretch a little longer across the road's surface. They remain diffuse, without sharp edges. The heather along the slope appears deeper in tone, its purples edging toward muted plum. A small section of loose gravel shifts beneath your boot. You pause briefly to adjust your footing. The pony stops at once, weight balanced evenly on all four legs. Its breath leaves in a slow, steady exhale. No impatience. No strain. You glance at the road ahead, not for distance, simply to place the next steps. The incline continues in the same gradual manner. No sudden rise, no abrupt turn. The stone wall has lowered again to knee height, stones irregular but stable. Lichen spreads across them in soft patches. You brush your fingers lightly along the top of one as you pass. The warmth from earlier has faded further. The surface now feels neutral, neither warm nor cold. Higher up along the ridge, faint shapes resolve into sheep. They appear as pale clusters against the darker slope, scattered and still. From this distance, there is no detail, only form. A few shift positions slowly, heads lowering to graze. The sound of distant bells carries faintly through the air, irregular, spaced far apart. The breeze rises again, this time cooler along the back of your neck. You reach briefly to smooth your collar flat against your skin. The movement is small and automatic. The pony's hooves strike a slightly firmer patch of road where larger stones have been set into the surface. The sound changes from crunch to a duller, solid contact. The rhythm continues unchanged. You resume your steady climb after the brief pause. The incline presses gently into your stride, encouraging shorter, more deliberate steps. Your breathing remains calm, unforced. The air feels thinner but clear. Heather brushes lightly against the pony's flank as the road narrows between slope and wall. The stems bend and spring back, leaving no trace of contact. The pony does not react. Its ears remain forward, attentive but relaxed. The valley behind grows lower without announcement. You sense the elevation shift more in your body than in your view. The air carries less warmth now. The late afternoon has begun its slow transition toward evening. A small pebble dislodges under a hoof and rolls a short distance down the slope, clicking once against stone before coming to rest. The sound is brief and contained. A faint scrape of hoof against stone fades quickly. The bells sound once more and fall quiet again. The gravel holds firm beneath your next step. You maintain your pace beside the pony, one step aligned with the next. The road continues upward in its uncomplicated way, rising without drama, and you take one slow, steady breath. The road widens slightly as it rounds a shallow shoulder of the hill. The incline eases for a short stretch, allowing your stride to lengthen without effort. The pony's pace adjusts naturally. The halter rope remains light between you, swaying gently with each step. Here, the view opens. Without intention, you slow and turn your head once to look back along the way you have come. The valley lies below in layered greens and muted golds. Fields divide themselves with faint lines of hedge and stone. A narrow ribbon of river catches a thin strip of light as it bends between them. Nothing glints sharply. The light is already softening, spreading thinly across the land rather than resting in one place. The road you walked appears as a pale thread winding upward. It does not dominate the landscape. It simply exists within it. The pony stands quietly beside you as you pause. Its weight settles evenly through its legs. One ear flicks backward briefly, then forward again. Its breathing remains slow and steady. A faint breeze moves upward from the valley floor, cooler now than before. It carries a subtle scent of grass and distant peat smoke, so light it could be imagined. The air brushes against your cheek and passes on. The stone wall beside you dips low enough here that the valley remains fully visible. The stones closest to your hand feel entirely free of the day's warmth. The cooling has begun in earnest at this height. You let the view remain as it is. You simply observe. Fields sit quietly in their boundaries. Heather thickens higher along the slopes. Sheep remain scattered as pale shapes near the ridge above. A bell sounds faintly in the distance, one clear note carried by the wind before fading again into quiet. The light continues to thin. Shadows gather gently in the folds of the land. The colors below soften toward evening tones, greens deepening, golds fading toward amber. No single moment marks the change. It unfolds without announcement. You turn your head forward again. The road ahead resumes its upward path, bending slightly out of view. It does not appear steeper than before. It simply continues. Your boots press into the gravel as you step once more. The sound returns, measured, even familiar. The pony shifts forward at the same moment, hooves finding the road without hesitation. The rope settles once again in your hand. Behind you, the valley remains open and wide. Ahead, the pass rises gradually into cooling air. The valley rests below. The road rises ahead. Your steps continue between them. You walk beside the steady hill pony. The incline resumes. The light continues its slow release, and you take one slow, unhurried breath. The road rises into higher ground where the stone wall stands more firmly built. Here the stones are larger, fitted with greater intention. Some are squared at the edges, others rounded by long weather. Lichen spreads across them in pale, irregular maps, soft green, and muted white against the gray surface. You slow your steps slightly as the incline steadies again. The pony matches the adjustment without cue. Its hooves press into a firmer stretch of gravel mixed with packed soil. The rhythm remains even. You reach out and let your hand move along the top of the wall. The surface feels cooler now. The warmth stored from the afternoon sun has mostly left the stone. What remains is a faint, lingering neutrality, neither warm nor cold. The texture is varied beneath your palm. Some stones are smooth from years of contact. Others carry small ridges where the grain has lifted. Your fingers pass over a patch of lichen. It yields slightly soft against the skin. A faint dryness clings to it, the scent of mineral and wind. The air at this height feels thinner, not sharper, just lighter. The warmth that rested along your shoulders earlier has lifted. A subtle coolness settles instead at the base of your neck and along your wrists. You draw your sleeve down a fraction without breaking stride. The pony lowers its head briefly toward the verge where sparse grass pushes up between stones. It takes a small mouthful, chewing slowly. The line between you loosens further. You pause to allow it, standing quietly beside the wall. A small pebble shifts under your boot as you adjust your stance. It rolls a short distance along the slope, clicking once against a lower stone before disappearing into grass. The sound is contained, absorbed quickly by the open air. The breeze moves again across the hillside. At this elevation, it carries a broader tone. It travels along the wall, over the heather beyond, and across the road in one continuous motion. It does not gust. It passes evenly, brushing your coat and the pony's mane alike. The sheep bells from higher up reach you faintly, irregular spacing, no pattern. A single note, then a pause long enough that the sound feels complete before another answers from a different direction. The pony lifts its head again and swallows. Its ears angle briefly toward the distant bells, then settle forward. You shift your hand to the warmest part of your sleeve cuff, then let your fingers fall back into their usual position. The road continues upward in the same patient gradient. The gravel has grown more compacted here, pressed down by seasons of travel. Your boots find a steady purchase. The sound underfoot is quieter now, less crunch, more solid compression. Your hand leaves the wall as the stones dip slightly lower. The temperature shift lingers in your palm, a memory of cool mineral against skin. Color drains gradually from the gravel as the road climbs. The cool stone leaves a faint trace on your palm. Gravel holds firm beneath the next step. The bells arrive once, then leave space again, and you take one slow, even breath. The road continues its gradual rise between wider stretches of heather. Here the plants grow thicker and closer to the gravel's edge. Their stems lean slightly toward the slope, shaped by years of prevailing wind. As you pass, the outer branches brush softly against your coat and the pony's flank. The wind changes its tone at this height. Lower down, it moved gently across open fields. Here it travels with a broader sweep, gathering along the contour of the pass. It does not push, it flows, a steady current that carries across the heather in one continuous hush. The sound is low and even, like distant fabric shifting. You lift your hand briefly to adjust the scarf at your collar. The air against your neck is cooler now, no longer holding the warmth of late afternoon. You draw the fabric slightly closer, smoothing it flat beneath your chin. The motion is simple and unhurried. The pony continues beside you, hooves finding their path between compacted gravel and occasional uneven stones. One hoof lands on a slightly angled rock. There is a small scrape of iron against stone, then the next step settles evenly again. Heather bends in shallow waves as the wind passes through. The movement begins near the top of the slope and travels downward in a visible ripple before easing. Each stem returns upright slowly, without snapping or strain. You press the satchel lightly against your hip to stop it swinging, then release it again when it settles. From higher up the ridge, sheep bells carry faintly again. They are spaced far apart. One clear tone, then quiet, then another from a different direction. The sounds do not overlap. They arrive individually, held briefly by the wind before dissolving into the open air. You do not look for the sheep themselves. The road narrows slightly as it presses closer to the slope. On the opposite side, the stone wall dips and rises irregularly, following the land's contour. Small gaps between stones reveal glimpses of the valley below, now softer in color than before. Edges begin to blur slightly along the far slope. It no longer sits heavily on the ground. It spreads lightly across the gravel, catching the edges of stone and heather without brightness. Shadows lengthen subtly, merging into one another. The wind passes again, brushing your sleeve and the pony's mane. A few strands lift and settle. The pony's ears tilt briefly toward the sound, then return forward. Your boots press into firmer ground here, where the road has been worn smooth by repeated crossings. The gravel is finer. The sound underfoot is a muted compression rather than a crunch, only the steady continuation of the pass. Fine gravel presses flat beneath your tread, and you take one slow, measured breath. The road tightens as it moves between two rising slopes. What was once a wider ribbon of gravel narrows into a more defined track. Heather presses closer on one side. The stone wall leans inward slightly on the other, its surface uneven but secure. The path does not feel confined. It feels shaped. You shorten your stride without thinking. The pony adjusts at once, placing each hoof more deliberately. The gravel here is mixed with embedded stone, flat slabs pressed into the earth long ago to steady the incline. Some sit level, others tilt slightly, their edges exposed. A hoof lands on one angled stone. There is a small shift, a faint scrape, then balance is found again. The rhythm continues. Your grip becomes fractionally firmer as the path narrows. Not tension, just awareness of shared alignment. You guide your shoulder a little closer to the pony's side to keep clear of the wall. The breeze passes down the corridor of slope and stone in a narrower stream. Its tone lowers slightly as it moves between surfaces. It brushes the heather tips and travels along the wall before slipping past you. You reach briefly to tighten a loose strap along the satchel at your side. The leather has shifted again with the incline. Your fingers find the buckle easily. You pull it one notch shorter and smooth the strap flat against your coat. The motion is small and efficient. Above the slope, a bird crosses the ridge. You notice it only as a dark shape against the thinning sky, gliding without sound from one side of the pass to the other. It disappears beyond the rise without drawing further attention. The gravel underfoot appears paler where the sky reflects faintly across its surface. Heather deepens toward muted brown and purple. The stones in the wall hold no warmth now. When your knuckles brush one accidentally, the surface feels cool and solid. The pony lowers its head slightly, not to graze this time, but to judge footing. Its ears angle forward. Its breath leaves in a steady, even pattern. No quickening, no strain. The track dips almost imperceptibly, then resumes its steady rise. You adjust your balance through the soles of your boots. The ground remains reliable beneath you. Sheep bells sound again from somewhere higher up. One note, a pause, another from farther away. The spacing feels wider now, as though the sound travels longer before reaching you. The air between tones stretches gently. The road bends fractionally left to avoid a protruding cluster of stone in the wall. You guide the pony around it without breaking pace. You angle your shoulder a touch away from the wall so your sleeve doesn't brush stone. The corridor of slope begins to open gradually ahead, though the incline remains. Nothing changes quickly. The narrowing was temporary, a shaping of the path rather than a restriction. The breeze moves once more along the track, stirring a faint lift of dust from the gravel. It rises briefly, then settles again. You continue forward. The track holds its shape between slope and wall, and you take one slow, even breath. The track dips gently toward a shallow run of water. It is not wide enough to be called a stream from a distance, just a narrow ribbon slipping across the road from one side of the slope to the other. The water moves steadily over small, rounded stones, clear enough that each pebble beneath is visible. You slow your steps as you approach. The pony lowers its head slightly, ears attentive but calm. The halter rope softens in your hand as both of you shorten your stride. Gravel transitions to damp earth a few steps before the water's edge. The sound beneath your boots shifts from dry compression to a softer, muted press. The water crosses at a shallow angle. Flat stones have been pressed into place to form a stable path through it. Some sit just above the surface. Others are thinly covered by a sheet of moving water no deeper than a finger's width. The pony steps first. One hoof touches a wet stone. There is a brief splash, contained and light. The sound is clear but small. The water parts and reforms around the iron shoe without resistance. The pony lowers its head further and pauses. You give the rope a little slack. The pony takes a few quiet mouthfuls from the running water. The motion is unhurried. Ripples widen and meet the road's edge before smoothing out again. The surface reflects the softening sky in broken fragments between stones. You step onto one of the drier stones. The sole of your boot presses against cool, smooth rock. A thin edge of water brushes the side of your boot, dampening the leather slightly. The temperature is noticeably cooler than the air. The sensation rises briefly through the sole before settling. The air above the crossing feels fresher. A faint coolness lifts from the water itself, touching your ankles and moving upward in a thin current. It carries the scent of mineral and peat, subtle and clean. The breeze quiets here, interrupted by the slight dip in the land. The dominant sound becomes the steady movement of water over stone, a continuous low murmur without variation. The pony lifts its head after drinking and steps forward again, completing the crossing with careful placement. Each hoof lands securely on the embedded stones before returning to damp earth on the far side. You follow, stepping from one flat surface to the next. The motion is balanced and measured. No urgency, no hesitation. Once beyond the water, the road resumes its compacted gravel texture. Your boots leave faint dark impressions where moisture transfers briefly from sole to ground. The marks fade quickly as the breeze passes over them. You reach down once to brush a small bead of water from the edge of your boot. The leather remains only lightly damp. The action is simple, automatic. Behind you, the shallow crossing continues its quiet flow across the path, just a steady thread of water moving downhill. Ahead, the incline resumes in the same gradual manner as before. The pony settles back into its familiar rhythm. Hoof, step, hoof, step. The easy arc between you returns. Cool air rises from the stones and sits briefly around your ankles. The sky turns flatter above the ridge. Heather along the banks appears darker where the ground remains damp. The water continues behind you as the road resumes its rise, and you take one slow, cooling breath. Beyond the water crossing, the road resumes its steady rise. The incline is unchanged from before, gradual, consistent, without sharp turns. gravel returns beneath your boots, firmer now after the brief dampness. The sound underfoot shifts back to a low, contained compression. Stone stops reflecting as the evening settles. The halter rope rests lightly in your hand, swaying in a small arc with each shared stride. There is no pull in it, only connection. The light has softened further. It no longer stretches brightly across the slope. Instead, it settles in a thin layer, diffused and even. The heather appears deeper in tone, its earlier color now muted toward dusk. The stone wall to your side stands quiet and cool, its surface fully released from the day's stored warmth. Far below, the faint outline of a farmhouse becomes visible. It sits small against the valley floor, partially obscured by distance and the curve of land. Its roof reflects a final, subdued strip of light. No smoke rises. No movement draws attention. It remains simply part of the landscape. You do not pause to observe it closely. The breeze moves again across the slope, lighter now, but cooler. It brushes the side of your face and slips beneath the edge of your scarf. You lift a hand briefly to smooth the fabric, then lower it again. The road bends upward in another shallow arc. This curve is less pronounced than the first, more a continuation than a change in direction. The gradient remains constant. Your stride remains steady. The pony's hooves land with quiet assurance on the compacted surface. A single sheep bell sounds faintly from higher ground. The note carries a little farther in the thinning air before dissolving. No echo follows it, just open space. You slide your thumb along the edge of the satchel strap where the leather has warmed. The sky above the ridge begins to pale toward evening. Blue gives way gradually to softer gray. The boundary between light and shadow grows less distinct. There is no single moment when day becomes dusk. It transitions evenly without emphasis. The gravel beneath your boots grows slightly finer as the road climbs higher. Small stones press into the tread of your sole before releasing. The sound remains low and contained. The farmhouse below fades subtly into the broad valley tones. Fields blend together as color deepens. The river's earlier reflection no longer catches the light. A single stone clicks under the pony's hoof and settles. Your next step lands on firm, fine gravel. The air stays cool and clear as you keep moving. The pony walks beside you without hesitation. The road continues upward, unchanged in its steady angle, and you take one slow, even breath. The road lifts toward a broader stretch of sky. Without steepening, the incline eases just enough that the ridge line ahead becomes visible. It is not sharp against the horizon. It appears as a long, softened edge where land meets a flatter sky. You continue walking beside the pony at the same steady pace. Hoof, step, hoof, step. The line between you rests comfortably in your hand. The fibers move in small, predictable arcs. Nothing pulls, nothing drags. As the path opens, the valley behind and to the side deepens in tone. Greens that were once layered and clear now lean toward violet and muted blue. The shapes of fields remain, but their boundaries soften. Distance gathers quietly. The pony slows a fraction on its own, adjusting to the higher ground. You shorten your stride to match. The rhythm remains even, simply a little more measured. A breeze moves across the open stretch. There is more sky here, less wall and slope to contain it. The air flows broadly over the pass, touching your face, and the pony's mane in the same gentle sweep. It carries no sharpness, only cool clarity. You lift a hand briefly to adjust the brim of your hat. Your thumb presses into the felt just above the seam. The fabric resists slightly before settling flatter against your forehead. A loose thread near the edge brushes your knuckle as you smooth it down. The wind slips under the brim once more, then eases. Heather thins slightly at this elevation, giving way to patches of short grass and exposed stone. The gravel underfoot grows lighter in color, reflecting what remains of the day's soft light. The distant sheep remain visible along the upper slope, pale shapes against darker ground. A bell sounds once, then falls quiet. The space between tones feels wider now. The sky turns flatter along the horizon. Your boots press into firmer ground where embedded stones steady the incline. You feel the difference through the sole immediately. One stone sits higher than the rest, pressing briefly into the arch before your weight shifts forward. Your heel rolls cleanly off it. A faint grit gathers at the edge of your tread, then releases as your next step lands. The contact feels solid and reliable. The pony's hooves land with equal assurance, each step placed without hesitation. The ridge line ahead grows more defined as you approach, not dramatic, not imposing. Just a gentle rise that suggests continuation rather than arrival. You do not aim for it. You walk toward it because the road leads there. The connection shifts slightly as the pony lifts its head, drawing in the cooler air. Its ears angle forward, attentive but relaxed. Its breath remains even. The valley's tones continue to deepen behind you. Violet gathers in the folds of land. Shadows merge gradually, losing their distinct edges. The view opens without announcement, and you take one slow, unhurried breath. The road continues toward the ridge in a quiet, even line. The incline has not changed. The gravel remains compacted and pale. The pony walks beside you with the same steady rhythm, ears forward, breath measured. After a few more steps, you slow slightly, not from effort, simply from habit. With your free hand, you reach toward the satchel at your side. The leather flap lifts easily. Inside, folded among a few simple items, rests a small paper map. You draw it out carefully. The paper is worn along its edges, one corner slightly frayed from repeated folding and unfolding. You do not open it fully. You unfold only the section you need, smoothing the crease gently with your thumb. The paper makes a soft, dry sound as it moves. No crackle, just a quiet shift of fiber. The pony stands calmly while you pause. The space between you hangs loosely. Its hooves remain planted, weight balanced evenly. You glance down at the map. Your fingers shift along the paper's edge to hold it flatter against the breeze. The crease across the center resists at first, then relaxes as your thumb smooths it. A faint smudge of dirt marks the lower margin where it has been folded and handled before. You brush it once with your sleeve. The curve of the pass is marked with a faint line. A small symbol indicates the shallow crossing you have already passed. The next bend is drawn just ahead of the ridge line, nothing dramatic, simply a continuation. You look up briefly to compare the shape of the land with the line on the page. The road matches it exactly. The gentle curve, the gradual incline, the open stretch toward the crest. There is no urgency in the check, no correction to make, only orientation. The breeze moves across the paper, lifting one edge slightly. You steady it with your thumb, then fold it back along its worn crease. The frayed corner bends easily into place. You return the map to the satchel and close the flap. The leather settles with a soft, contained sound. The pony shifts its weight once, a small movement through the shoulder. Stone stops, reflecting along the upper slope. The ridge ahead remains steady in outline. You resume walking. Your shoulder settles back into its natural alignment beside the pony's neck. The rhythm reforms without instruction. Your left foot lands slightly ahead of the right this time, adjusting to a shallow tilt in the gravel. A small stone rolls outward from under your sole and settles at the road's edge. A sheep bell sounds faintly from somewhere beyond the ridge. The note lingers a moment longer in the cooler air before fading. The air at this height feels clearer now, cooler along your cheeks. You adjust your scarf slightly, smoothing it against your collarbone. The road remains unchanged, and you take one slow, steady breath. The road continues toward the ridge, widening slightly where the slope opens. To your right, the upper hillside stretches in a long, gradual rise. The heather thins in places, giving way to coarse grass and exposed stone. Across that higher ground, sheep stand in scattered clusters. They are not close. From this distance, they appear as pale forms against deepening earth tones. Some stand still. Others lower their heads to graze. A few shift positions slowly, their movement unhurried and without pattern. A bell sounds. The tone carries lightly across the cooling air, clear, single, and brief. It lingers just long enough to register before dissolving into quiet. After a pause, another answers from farther along the slope. The spacing between them feels wider now. The air seems to hold the sound a little longer before releasing it. You do not call out. You do not wave. You do not change direction. You simply walk. The pony's ears tilt briefly toward the nearest sound, then settle forward again. Its hooves continue their steady contact with the gravel. Hoof, step, hoof, step. A faint current of cooler air moves across your face. It brushes your cheek and passes beneath the edge of your hat. You feel the temperature shift more clearly now, late afternoon giving way to early evening. Heather along the roadside bends gently in the breeze. One stem brushes against your sleeve and catches briefly at a loose thread in the fabric. You lift your wrist slightly to free it. The contact leaves a faint trace of texture against your skin before the plant settles back into place with the others. The movement is shallow, contained, and rhythmic. Each stem leans and returns, lean and return without strain. Color drains from the gravel as the road rises. Small embedded stones create subtle variations in texture, but your footing remains steady. The sheep above remain distant. Their outlines soften slightly as light thins. No individual detail draws attention, only the suggestion of presence across the slope. A single lamb moves a few steps closer to its cluster. The motion is small, barely noticeable, except for the faint bell that sounds again as it shifts. The valley behind you has deepened further into muted violet tones. Fields blend more closely together now, their boundaries less distinct. The ridge ahead holds its gentle line. The road neither steepens nor levels dramatically. It continues in the same patient gradient. You adjust your grip on the rope once more, sliding the fibers through your fingers and back into your palm. The motion is absent-minded and smooth. The breeze quiets for a moment. In its absence, the faint bell carries more clearly. One note, a pause, another from farther away, then stillness again. The walk continues without interruption, and you take one slow, measured breath. The road steepens slightly as it approaches the upper stretch of the pass, not dramatically. The change is subtle, just enough that your boots press more firmly into the gravel. Your stride shortens a fraction. The pony adjusts at once, lifting each hoof with quiet deliberation before placing it securely again. Hoof, step, hoof, step. The gravel underfoot grows coarser along this section, small stones scattered across a firmer base. Your boots find purchase easily, pressing down and releasing in measured rhythm. A single pebble shifts beneath your heel, clicking once against another before settling. You place your foot more deliberately now, angling it slightly to avoid a sharper edge of stone. The grit shifts outward under pressure, spreading rather than compressing. Your calf tightens momentarily as you steady yourself, then releases as the next step finds firmer ground. The air cools further. You notice it along your cheeks first, then at the back of your hands where your sleeves leave a small gap. The temperature change is gradual, even. The warmth of afternoon has fully lifted from the higher ground. The pony's breath becomes faintly visible in the thinning light, a soft exhale that disperses almost immediately. It leaves no cloud, just the suggestion of warmth meeting cooler air. Heather grows sparser here. Exposed stone edges the roadside, and patches of short grass bend low to the slope. The stone wall has fallen away entirely, replaced by open ground that rolls gently toward the ridge. A breeze moves up the incline, meeting you as you walk. It carries no force, only clarity. It passes through the pony's mane, lifting a few strands before letting them fall again. You steady your hand on the rope as the pony steps onto a slightly angled stone embedded in the road. The hoof presses, adjusts, then settles firmly. The rhythm continues uninterrupted. The sheep bells sound faintly from somewhere beyond the crest. The notes arrive spaced far apart, each one clear, each one brief. They seem farther now, not in distance, but in tone. Edges blur slightly along the ridge line. The light spreads thinly across the gravel, no longer casting distinct shadows. Your calves register the steady climb, but there is no strain in the movement. The incline remains manageable, measured. You breathe easily through it. The pony lowers its head slightly as it climbs, concentrating on footing. Its ears remain forward, its pace does not falter. The ridge ahead draws closer, not as a summit, not as a destination, simply as the next continuation of land. The slope rises without strain, and you take one slow, steady breath. The incline eases without announcement. You notice it first in your hips. The pull through the back of your legs lessens. Your stride lengthens without effort, heels striking more fully before rolling forward. The pony's shoulder moves a fraction ahead, then settles back into alignment as the rhythm equalizes. There is no sudden leveling, no marked point where the climb ends. The road simply softens its upward angle until your stride lengthens naturally again. The pony adjusts at the same moment. Hoof, step, hoof, step. The halter rope slackens slightly as the gradient becomes gentler. The fibers rest more loosely across your palm. The ridge line that was ahead is now beside you. The land does not drop away dramatically on either side. It opens. One slope extends into the valley you climbed from. The other stretches toward another broad expanse of high ground, rolling gently under thinning light. The sky feels larger here. With fewer slopes rising on either side, the air moves more freely. A broad current of wind passes across the pass. It presses your coat lightly against your ribs, then releases it again. The fabric shifts once at the hem, brushing your thigh before falling still. A strand of the pony's mane lifts and taps briefly against your sleeve before settling back against its neck. It carries a clear coolness now, steady and clean. The gravel beneath your boots becomes lighter and more compacted, pressed flat by years of crossing. Embedded stones sit flush with the surface, creating a steady path. You do not stop. There is no pause to mark the crest, no turning point. The road continues forward as it always has, neither rising nor falling sharply. The sheep bells sound faintly from somewhere beyond the gentle rise ahead. The tones are softer now, spaced widely apart. The air between them feels open and unoccupied. The valley behind you deepens further into muted violet. The fields blur into one another as light fades. Ahead, the higher ground appears in soft gray-blue layers. The horizon dissipates into a single pale band. No flare of color, just gradual dimming. The heather here lies lower to the ground, darker now in tone. The breeze moves through it in shallow, coordinated ripples. The crest marks continuation, not arrival, and you take one slow, unhurried breath. Beyond the crest, the road settles into a brief stretch of level ground. It does not feel elevated in a dramatic way. There is no sharp drop to either side, no exposed edge. The land simply widens and steadies, forming a high plateau that carries the pass forward in a broad, quiet line. The surface beneath your boots shifts subtly here. Gravel gives way to a firmer blend of pressed stone and pale dust. The texture feels smoother, less broken by loose fragments. Your steps land with a softer sound, more muted compression than crunch. The pony's hooves strike the ground with a low, even contact that blends easily into the open air. Hoof, step, hoof, step. The line hangs in a relaxed curve between you. Without the upward pull of the incline, it sways more freely. You adjust your hand slightly, letting the fibers rest across your palm rather than between your fingers. Heather spreads wider across this plateau, darker now in the lowering light. The purple that once held a faint brightness has deepened into muted plum and brown. Between the clusters, patches of short grass lie flattened in places where wind has passed repeatedly over time. The wind is broader here. With fewer slopes rising close on either side, the air travels across the plateau in a steady, uninterrupted current. It brushes against your coat and moves through the pony's mane without resistance. The temperature carries a clear coolness that settles comfortably against your cheeks. You reach once toward the pony's saddle blanket. The edge has shifted slightly along its flank during the climb. You smooth it down with an open palm, pressing the fabric flat against the pony's side. The wool feels dense and warm beneath your hand, holding the pony's body heat. The motion is small and deliberate. When you lift your hand away, the blanket remains neatly aligned. The pony continues walking, unbothered by the adjustment. The sky above the plateau stretches wide and pale. Blue has thinned into soft gray blue near the horizon. There is no dramatic color shift, only a gradual dilution of light. The clouds, if present, are too faint to hold form. In the distance, the land rolls gently outward in shallow waves. No single ridge commands attention. Each rise blends into the next. The road follows the natural contour, curving slightly left before straightening again. You maintain your pace. The ground feels stable and even. Embedded stones create a subtle pattern beneath your boots, but none disrupt your footing. The pony's stride remains measured and calm, its breathing steady. A faint bell carries from somewhere far across the plateau. The sound is thinner here, more dispersed in the open air. It arrives lightly, then dissolves without echo. The breeze passes again, cooler than before but not sharp. It carries the faint scent of dry grass and stone. You feel it along the back of your neck and beneath the edge of your hat. The plateau offers no summit, only continuation, and you take one slow, even breath. The road continues across the high ground, bordered now by a lower retaining wall built from heavier blocks of stone. These stones are broader than those below the pass. They sit with a deliberate weight, stacked in shorter sections where the land dips slightly. The surface is mottled with lichen and faint streaks where rain has traced its path downward over time. You drift a little closer to the wall as you walk. The pony remains at your shoulder, stride unaltered. The halter rope hangs in an easy arc between you, moving only with the rhythm of your steps. You reach out and place your palm against one of the larger stones. The temperature shift is immediate and physical. Where earlier the wall still held traces of stored warmth, this stone carries none. It feels evenly cool beneath your skin, solid, dense, and unchanging. The surface is smoother here, worn by long seasons of wind rather than frequent touch. You keep your hand there for a moment as you walk a few slow steps, fingers gliding lightly along the edge. The coolness steadies against your palm, grounding and consistent. The wind crosses the plateau again, brushing over the top of the wall before moving across your coat. It carries the clean scent of mineral and dry grass. The air feels clearer at this height, thinner but not sharp. The pony slows slightly of its own accord, adjusting to your nearer pace by the wall. Its hooves press evenly into the compacted surface of the road. The sound is low and contained, barely rising above the movement of air. You withdraw your hand from the stone and let it rest again at your side. The faint impression of cool mineral lingers against your skin. Stone stops reflecting along the wall's upper edge. The upper tones remain pale, but the horizon line leans gently toward gray. Light spreads thinly across the land, losing its earlier brightness. Heather appears darker and more uniform now, blending into a continuous stretch of muted color. A distant bell sounds again, farther apart than before. The openness of the plateau seems to carry the sound outward rather than toward you. It arrives faintly, then disperses into the widening air. You walk a few steps ahead of the pony before settling back into alignment at its shoulder. The rope adjusts easily without tension. The pony follows your pace without hesitation. The retaining wall dips lower and then rises again in another short section. You notice how the stones have been fitted carefully at corners, creating clean angles without mortar. The structure rests firmly in the land, neither decorative nor imposing. The breeze shifts direction slightly, now crossing from your left rather than straight ahead. It presses lightly against your sleeve before easing. Your boots land evenly on the firm surface. The plateau does not rise or fall here. It extends steadily forward. The stretch requires no effort beyond walking, and you take one slow, steady breath. The road curves gently toward the western edge of the plateau. It does not turn sharply. It leans, following the natural contour of the land. The surface remains firm beneath your boots, pale gravel pressed flat by time. The pony keeps its even stride beside you, hooves landing in a low, reliable rhythm. Hoof, step, hoof, step. As the road bends, the land to your left opens into a long, unobstructed view. The sun has lowered behind distant hills, no longer visible as a disk, but present in the way light settles along their ridgelines. A narrow band of amber rests along the horizon, diffused and even. It does not flare. It glows softly, tracing the outer edges of the far slopes. The nearer ground remains in muted tone. Heather darkens into deeper plum and brown. Patches of exposed stone hold a faint reflection of the amber light, then lose it as the sun drops further behind the hills. You continue walking without pause. There is no need to stop for the view. It unfolds gradually as you move, each step revealing a little more of the distant ridge, then allowing it to slip quietly behind you again. The breeze crosses from the west now, carrying a mild coolness that settles evenly across your face. It moves through the pony's mane and along the hem of your coat before easing. A sheep bell sounds far off. The note is faint and singular. It travels across the open air without echo. The silence that follows feels broader, as though the sound has expanded the space around it. You notice how the color shifts along the distant ridge. The amber narrows along the distant ridge before fading into shadow. The gravel beneath your boots feels cooler now. Where earlier warmth lingered in the stones, it has fully released. The surface responds with steady firmness, holding your weight without shift. The pony lifts its head slightly, ears angled toward the open land. Its breathing remains calm, visible only as a suggestion against the cooling air. Its stride remains measured and unhurried. The road straightens again after the curve. Ahead, the plateau continues for a short stretch before angling gradually toward lower ground. There is no sharp descent. The change in elevation appears subtle and distant. The amber band at the horizon narrows further. Light along the far hills softens into muted gray. The sky above deepens evenly, retaining a pale clarity that holds the last of the day. You continue walking without marking the moment, and you take one slow, unhurried breath. The road begins to angle slightly lower. There is no clear point where it changes. The plateau simply eases into a gradual decline, so mild that your body registers it before your eyes do. Your stride lengthens by a fraction. The pony adjusts without guidance. Hoof, step, hoof, step. The halter rope shifts subtly as gravity takes a small share of the movement. It does not pull. It settles into a straighter line between your hand and the pony's halter. The gravel underfoot grows softer again. Your heel sinks a fraction deeper into the fine layer before rolling forward. Dust gathers lightly along the edge of your sole, then scatters outward as your weight shifts. A small line of displaced grit traces your step before settling back into place. Finer particles gather along the center of the road where repeated crossings have worn the surface smooth. Your boots press into it with a muted, steady sound. Less contact than before, more quiet absorption. The breeze moves from behind you now, traveling down the slope in the same direction as your steps. It presses your coat gently against your back before slipping past your sides. The fabric shifts once at the hem, brushing your calf. You feel the movement through the cloth more than the air itself. Heather thickens again along the edges of the road as the ground begins its gentle lowering. The stems are darker now, nearly blending together in the dimming light. When the wind passes, the motion is shallow and unified. You adjust your footing once as a small cluster of embedded stones shifts beneath your sole. The movement is contained, corrected in a single step. The pony mirrors the adjustment, placing each hoof with measured precision. The distant sheep bells have grown quieter. Whether from distance or from the direction of wind, the tones reach you less distinctly now. A single note arrives faintly, then dissolves quickly. Edges blur along the western hills. The amber along the western ridge has faded into muted gray. Blue above darkens by small degrees. The horizon line remains visible but softened. You do not think of this stretch as descent. It is simply another shaping of the road. The incline has eased, and now the land lowers gradually. Your breathing remains steady. Your pace remains even. The pony lowers its head slightly as it walks, attentive to footing but unhurried. Its breath is faintly visible now in the cooling air, dispersing quickly. You let the rope slide a little through your palm to keep the line comfortable as the slope continues. The fibers move smoothly, worn, and familiar. The sound beneath your boots becomes quieter still, the fine gravel absorbing impact. The road curves gently right as it lowers, following the natural fold of the hillside. The road lowers without announcement, and you take one slow, steady breath. The road continues its gentle lowering across the open ground. The angle remains shallow, almost level at moments before dipping again by small degrees. Your stride stays relaxed. The pony walks beside you without hesitation, hooves landing in the same steady cadence as before. Hoof, step, hoof, step. The air has shifted fully into evening. It no longer carries any trace of the afternoon's warmth. Coolness rests evenly against your cheeks and along your hands. It does not bite, it simply settles. You lift your hand to adjust your scarf once more, drawing the fabric slightly closer at your collar. The wool feels warmer now against your skin, holding in the heat of your breath. You smooth it down and let your hand fall again to the halter rope. Your fingers linger briefly against the wool before releasing it. A faint warmth remains on your fingertips. As your hand lowers, your knuckles brush lightly against the pony's shoulder. The contact is steady and familiar, a quiet reassurance of shared pace. The line between you straightens slightly. As the road lowers, it straightens gently, but never tightens. The fibers move easily through your palm when you adjust your grip. The gravel underfoot appears softer in the dimming light, its pale tones fading toward muted gray. The embedded stones no longer reflect even the faintest brightness. They sit flat and dark within the road's surface. Far below, a single farmhouse window glows faintly. It is small against the widening valley, a quiet square of warm light that holds steady without flicker. No other details are visible from this distance. No movement surrounds it. It exists simply as a point within the landscape. You do not focus on it. You notice it once, then continue walking. The breeze passes again, slower now as the air cools and settles. It moves across the slope and brushes your coat without lifting it. The heather along the roadside sways in smaller arcs than before, as though conserving motion. The sheep bells have faded almost entirely from hearing. If one sounds now, it arrives too faint to hold shape. The plateau behind you has fallen quiet. The sky deepens further toward gray-blue. The boundary between land and horizon softens until the ridge lines blend into shadow. No stars appear yet. The light remains present, though thinned. The pony's breath is more visible now, subtle plumes that dissipate quickly into the cooling air. Its ears remain forward, attentive but calm. Its stride remains unchanged. Your boots press into the road's surface with quiet assurance. The decline continues without steepness. The movement feels effortless, supported by the land itself. The farmhouse window below remains steady. The road curves slightly toward that lower ground, though still at a distance. Grass edges the roadside more thickly here, brushing softly against your boots as you pass. Evening settles without emphasis, and you take one slow, unhurried breath. The road continues its gradual decline, the angle steady and unhurried. It does not fall away. It lowers by quiet degrees, enough that your stride lengthens naturally. Your boots roll forward more smoothly with each step. Your heel lands first, then settles fully before your weight transfers. The slight downward angle carries you forward without effort. Fine grit gathers briefly at the edge of your sole before brushing aside with the next stride. The pony adjusts without prompting, maintaining its calm, measured rhythm beside you. Hoof, step, hoof, step. The halter rope draws into a slightly straighter line as gravity shares the motion. You allow a little more length through your palm, letting the fibers slide comfortably so the pony can move without constraint. The valley ahead widens. Where earlier the high ground held your view, the lowering road reveals more of the land below. Slopes unfold in layered grays and softened greens. The farmhouse you glimpsed before sits more clearly now, still distant but steadier in outline. Its single window remains lit, a small square of amber in the growing blue-gray of evening. The air is fully cool now. It rests along your face and hands with even clarity. There is no lingering warmth anywhere in the stone or gravel. The scent of heather has deepened into something earthier, mingling faintly with damp grass along the roadside. Behind you, the faint sheep bells have fallen silent. Whether from distance or from the thickening air, no tones reach you now. The plateau lies quiet, absorbed into the dimming light. The pony's breath leaves in soft, visible threads that disperse quickly. Its ears remain forward. Its hooves find the slope without hesitation, placing carefully, but without strain. The gravel underfoot grows finer as the road descends. Small particles shift gently beneath your soles before settling again. The embedded stones are fewer here, replaced by compacted earth that holds shape even in the cool air. You pass a stretch where the stone wall that bordered earlier parts of the pass has ended entirely. The open slope extends outward without boundary, grass edging the road in uneven tufts. The breeze moves lightly at your back. It presses your coat gently forward against your legs before releasing it again. The fabric shifts once at the hem and brushes your calf. You notice the movement more than the air itself. It carries no force, only a soft current that follows the lowering land. Your coat shifts slightly with each step, then settles again. The sky continues its quiet transition. The horizon leans into a darker tone. The last trace of amber has fully faded from the western ridge. No sharp color remains, only even dimness. The descent continues without urgency, and you take one slow, even breath. The road continues downward, though the angle grows, so slight it feels nearly level for a few steady stretches. Along the left side, the last remaining section of stone wall runs parallel to your path. It is lower than before, built from smaller stones, some uneven at their tops. Gaps appear between a few of them where time has shifted their alignment. You drift closer to it as you walk. The pony remains beside you, stride unaltered. The line between you remains uncomplicated. Its fibers move only with the motion of your hand and the quiet rhythm of shared steps. You reach out once more and brush your fingers along the final stretch of stone. The surface is cool and faintly textured. Lichen thins here, replaced by bare mineral where wind and weather have cleared it. The stone carries no warmth at all now. It feels grounded and steady, indifferent to the lowering light. A small fragment of grit dislodges beneath your touch and falls soundlessly into the grass below. You feel the vibration travel lightly through your fingertip before the stone falls away. The edge of the block leaves a faint trace of dust across your skin. You rub your thumb against your forefinger once, clearing it. The wall does not continue beyond this point. It simply ends. The final stones taper into open ground, giving way to an unbroken slope of grass and heather. No marker signals the transition. The structure dissolves into the land as though it were always meant to. You let your hand fall back to your side. The road widens slightly where the wall has fallen away. Grass edges soften the boundary between path and hillside. Fine blades brush lightly against the side of your boot as you pass, bending and returning upright. The air feels smoother here. Without stone to deflect it, the evening breeze moves in broader, quieter currents. It glides across the slope and passes by without altering your pace. The pony's hooves meet a section of firmer earth, compacted by years of travel. The sound beneath becomes more muted still, less gravel, more packed soil. Each step lands evenly, leaving only faint impressions that fade quickly in the dimness. Edges blur along the upper ridge. Shapes across the valley soften into silhouette. You adjust the rope slightly, shortening it by a small length as the path narrows again ahead. The fibers slide smoothly through your palm. The pony responds without tension, maintaining alignment at your shoulder. No sheep bells carry now. No distant sounds interrupt the quiet. The farmhouse window below remains steady, a constant point against the gathering dusk. It neither brightens nor dims, it simply holds. The road lowers by small, even degrees, edged now by uninterrupted hillside and low grass. The boundary falls away without ceremony, and you draw one slow, measured breath. The road bends gently as it lowers, revealing more of the valley floor. Ahead and slightly to the right, a small stone cottage comes into clearer view. It sits alone against the base of the slope, its outline simple and compact. The roof appears dark against the dimming sky. One window glows with steady light. The glow does not flicker. It remains constant, an even amber square within the thickening blue-gray of evening. You continue walking. Hoof, step, hoof, step. The line between you remains clean between your hand and the pony's halter. It does not sway as widely now, the descent keeping your movement aligned and direct. The gravel has thinned into compacted earth along this stretch. Your boots meet it with a low, contained sound. Small grains shift at the edges, but do not scatter. Grass grows thicker along the roadside here, brushing lightly against your ankle as you pass. The stems are darker now, nearly blending into the slope beyond. The cottage window remains visible. No smoke rises from its chimney. No shadows cross the light. It exists as a point of presence within the valley, neither inviting nor distant, simply there. The pony's ears flick once toward the lower ground, then settle forward again. Its breathing remains steady, faint plumes dissolving into the cooling air. The breeze has softened further. It moves across the hillside in slower, broader currents. The sound of it through grass is subtle, more sensed than heard. The sky deepens toward indigo overhead. Near the horizon, a thin band of lighter gray remains, separating land from sky without sharp edge. You adjust your grip slightly. The motion is habitual and unhurried. The cottage grows marginally larger as the road lowers, though still distant enough that details remain minimal. The shape of its door is only suggested. The walls appear thick and pale in the fading light. The land around it lies quiet. No movement interrupts the stillness. No additional lights appear. The road continues its patient decline toward the valley floor, curving subtly to follow the land's natural lines. The cottage remains part of the landscape, nothing more, and you take one slow, steady breath. The road continues downward, though the change in height is now almost imperceptible. The surface has shifted again beneath your boots. Gravel has given way to a more compact blend of earth and fine stone, worn smooth by long use. Your steps land with a soft, contained sound that barely rises above the quiet of evening. Hoof, step, hoof, step. The pony remains aligned at your shoulder, its movement steady and unforced. Its hooves meet the packed surface with low, even contact. Evening gathers evenly across the valley. Stone stops reflecting along the lower slope. Heather along the roadside blends into the darker slope. Individual stems are no longer distinct. They form a continuous field of shadowed texture that rises gently beside the road. The cottage window below appears slightly brighter against the surrounding dimness, though its light has not changed. It stands out now because the world around it has softened. You do not adjust your pace. The descent remains gradual. Your stride rolls naturally with the slope, neither hurried nor restrained. The pony mirrors your rhythm, its breath visible in faint, brief threads that dissolve quickly into the air. A small bird lifts from the grass near the roadside as you approach. Its movement is quiet and low, crossing the road ahead before disappearing into darker ground. The motion is swift but not startling. The land closes again behind it without trace. The breeze moves gently from the valley upward, carrying a faint scent of damp earth and cooling stone. It touches your cheeks and slides beneath the edge of your hat before easing. You draw the rope a fraction shorter as the road curves slightly left, guiding the pony with minimal motion. The fibers slide smoothly through your hand. The surrounding slopes now hold more shadow than light. Details soften at their edges. The ridge behind you is no longer clearly outlined. It merges into the deepening sky. The road remains visible, its pale surface distinguishable against darker grass. It threads forward in a quiet line toward lower ground. There is no change in sound beyond the rhythm of steps. No distant bells, no wind against stone, only movement through evening air. Your boots press evenly into the firm surface. The pony walks beside you without hesitation. The cottage window remains steady in the distance. Dusk deepens by another small degree, and you take one slow, unhurried breath. The road continues to ease downward, though the slope is now so mild it feels nearly level. The surface changes beneath your boots once more. The packed earth grows smoother with fewer scattered stones. Your steps roll forward quietly, leaving faint impressions that soften almost immediately in the dim light. Hoof, step, hoof, step. The pony remains steady at your side, its stride even and unbroken. The line between you relaxes, no longer needing adjustment as the descent gentles. Grass thickens along the edges of the road here. Taller stems lean inward slightly, brushing against your boots and the pony's lower legs as you pass. The movement is soft and slow, the blades bending and lifting again in the cooling air. The valley floor feels closer now. The cottage stands more clearly defined against the darkening slope, though still at a respectful distance. Its window continues to glow steadily, a small square of warmth set within the wider dusk. The upper sky grows denser in tone. The last pale line at the horizon fades into muted gray. No stars show yet. The light remains present, but thin. The pony exhales softly. The breath leaves in a pale thread that lingers a fraction longer before dispersing. Its ears remain forward, attentive without tension. Its hooves land securely on the smoother earth. You notice the transition from gravel to packed soil fully now. The texture underfoot feels more grounded, less shifting. The road has settled into the valley's contour. A faint sound of distant water reaches you, barely audible at first, then clearer as you listen. A stream somewhere beyond sight moving steadily across stone. The sound is low and continuous, blending into the evening quiet. The breeze has grown gentler still. It travels in wide, soft currents, barely lifting the hem of your coat. The air feels fully cooled, evenly distributed across the slope. You do not change your pace. There is no sense of arrival yet, only the gradual nearing of lower ground. The road continues clear and uncomplicated, and you take one slow, steady breath. The road settles fully into the valley floor. The last trace of slope has evened out beneath your steps. The surface is now a firm blend of packed earth and fine stone, smoother than the higher stretches of the pass. Your boots mate it with a low, steady sound that feels absorbed by the surrounding grass. Hoof, step, hoof, step. The pony's rhythm remains unchanged. Its hooves land with calm precision, pressing into the earth without scattering loose gravel. The sheep bells are gone. No faint tones drift from the ridge behind. The plateau has fallen completely silent. What remains is the simple cadence of shared movement and the soft hush of evening air. Grass grows taller along the edges of the road here, brushing lightly against your boots. The stems are cool and slightly damp at their tips, catching the last of the valley's moisture as night approaches. When your leg passes through them, they bend and return without sound. The air has deepened into full evening coolness. It rests evenly across your cheeks and hands. There is no warmth lingering in stone or soil. The temperature feels settled and consistent, neither dropping quickly nor rising again. Your breath leaves in faint, visible threads that dissolve almost immediately. A distant stream continues its quiet movement somewhere off to the right. The sound is steady and low, a continuous murmur that blends into the wide stillness of the valley floor. It does not rise or fall. It simply persists. You maintain your pace. The road runs straight for a time, bordered by grass and low, uneven ground. No walls, no gates, no boundary lines at all. The openness feels broader here than on the plateau, though the sky is darker now. The pony's ears flick once, then settle. Its mane shifts slightly as a mild current of air moves through the valley. The breeze is softer here, slowed by the surrounding slopes. It brushes past without direction, touching your sleeve and easing away. The cottage ahead grows marginally larger. Its window still glows with steady amber light. From this lower angle, you can see a little more of its outline, thick stone walls, and a simple roofline. No movement is visible within the lit square. It remains constant. Your boots roll evenly across the firm ground. The earth holds shape beneath your weight, leaving only shallow impressions that fade into shadow. The rope slides a fraction through your palm as you shift your grip, more from habit than necessity. The fibers feel familiar and worn smooth from long use. The sky overhead is now a deeper indigo. The horizon has softened into a continuous band where land and sky meet without sharp distinction. No stars yet appear. The light has not fully withdrawn, but it has thinned to its final layer. The valley remains quiet and undisturbed, and you take one slow, unforced breath. The road continues straight for a short distance before narrowing again near a low wooden gate. It stands between two short posts set into the valley ground, simpler than the earlier boundary above the pass. The wood is darker here, holding the evening's moisture. Its surface appears smooth from long use, edges softened by weather rather than wind alone. You slow your steps as you approach. The pony matches the change at once. The halter rope shortens slightly as you draw closer to the gate, not tightening, only gathering into your palm. The ground beneath your boots is firm and level. Grass grows thicker on either side of the narrow opening. The stream's quiet murmur continues somewhere beyond sight, low and steady. You reach for the top rail. The wood feels cool and faintly damp beneath your hand. There is no warmth left in it from the day. Your fingers rest against the grain for a moment before you lift the simple latch. The latch moves with a soft wooden shift, no metal sound, no sharp click, only the muted contact of wood sliding against wood. You ease the gate inward. Its hinges turn without complaint, the movement slow and contained. The arc it traces is small. The earth beneath it is worn into a shallow curve where it has opened many times before. The pony waits calmly behind you, head level, ears relaxed. You step forward through the opening first, keeping the rope aligned so it does not brush the gate's edge. The pony follows without hesitation, hooves stepping from packed earth to slightly softer ground just beyond. The texture changes underfoot, less compacted road, more natural soil mixed with grass. Once clear, you turn and draw the gate closed behind you. The wood meets the post with a gentle contact. You lift the latch and settle it back into place. The movement produces only a quiet shift of wood, barely audible against the still air. For a brief moment, your hand remains resting on the top rail. The coolness of the wood transfers evenly into your palm. The air feels settled here, almost sheltered, though no walls surround you. The sky above has deepened further. Indigo now holds most of its expanse. The horizon is only faintly lighter. You step away from the gate and return your hand to the rope. The pony stands beside you, breath faintly visible in the darkening air. Its hooves press lightly into the softer ground, leaving shallow impressions in the soil. The road resumes on the other side, narrower and less defined. Grass edges press closer to its center, and the earth bears the marks of fewer crossings. You begin walking again. Hoof, step, hoof, step. The gate closes without ceremony, and you take one slow, steady breath. Beyond the gate, the path settles into the quiet of the valley floor. It is less defined than the higher road, more suggestion than structure. Two faint tracks mark where wheels or hooves have passed before, with a strip of grass running softly between them. The earth feels natural beneath your boots, slightly springier than the compacted gravel above. Hoof, step, hoof, step. The pony's stride adjusts easily to the gentler ground. Its hooves press into soil that yields just enough to soften the contact. Your hand rests lightly at your side. Grass grows taller here. It brushes against your calves and the pony's lower legs, bending in narrow arcs before returning upright. Some stems carry faint moisture that darkens their tips. When your boots pass through them, they part quietly and close again. The stream is closer now. Though still out of sight, its movement is clearer in the still air. Water slides over stone in a continuous, low thread of sound, steady, unhurried, unbroken. It blends with the muted rhythm of steps. The cottage stands ahead, no longer small against the slope. Its stone walls are visible in dim outline, pale against the darkening field. The single window remains lit, the amber glow steady and contained within its frame. No shadow crosses it. No movement interrupts it. You continue walking without altering pace. The ground is nearly level now. Any slope that remains is too slight to notice. Your stride feels even and supported. The pony walks at your shoulder, its breathing calm, faint vapor dissolving quickly in the cooling air. The upper sky grows dense and uniform. The horizon holds only a narrow suggestion of lighter tone, separating land from sky without clear edge. No stars have appeared yet, though the darkness gathers gently. A mild current of air moves across the valley, slower than on the plateau. It brushes your sleeve and passes through the taller grass in small, coordinated motions. The sound is soft and close. You adjust the rope once, gathering a small length into your palm so it does not trail too low. The fibers slide smoothly, worn, and familiar. The earth beneath your boots carries the faint scent of damp soil and cooling stone. It feels grounded and stable, holding shape under your weight. The valley floor holds its quiet, and you take one slow, unhurried breath. The path narrows slightly as it approaches the small stone building. It does not lead directly to the door. Instead, it curves gently toward the side wall, where the ground is firmer and less worn by grass. The earth here feels compacted from repeated steps, though not heavily marked. You continue at the same steady pace. Hoof, step, hoof, step. The pony remains aligned at your shoulder, its breathing slow and even. The cottage stands quietly in the deepening dark. Its walls are built from pale, uneven stone, fitted closely without ornament. The roofline is simple and low. The single window glows steadily, casting a faint wash of warm light across the ground immediately beneath it. No sound comes from within. No movement passes the window. The stream's murmur continues somewhere behind, and to the side, softer now as the building shields some of the sound. You guide the pony toward the sheltered wall opposite the lit window. The wall blocks a portion of the evening air, creating a pocket of stillness. The ground beneath is firmer here, mixed with small stones pressed flat into the soil. You shorten the rope slightly and bring the pony to a calm halt beside the stone. Its hooves settle evenly. Its head lowers a fraction, not to graze, simply to rest. For a moment, you place your hand along the side of its neck. The warmth beneath your palm is steady and reassuring. The pony's coat feels smooth and dense against the cooling air. Its breathing remains slow, rising and falling in quiet rhythm. You do not speak. You do not knock on the door. You do not announce your presence. The cottage remains what it is, a structure holding light within its walls. The sky settles into a darker, even tone. The horizon has merged into shadow. The valley behind you is no longer distinct in detail, only in shape. The breeze moves lightly across the open ground beyond the wall, but does not reach you directly here. The sheltered space holds a gentle stillness. You release your hand from the pony's neck and allow the rope to rest with comfortable slack. No arrival announces itself, and you take one slow, steady breath. You remain beside the stone wall with the pony resting quietly at your shoulder. The road you followed now lies behind you in near complete darkness. Its pale surface is no longer distinct against the surrounding ground. Only the general direction of its line can be sensed where the valley floor stretches back toward the pass. The cottage window continues to hold its steady light. It does not flicker. It does not brighten. It simply exists as a contained square of warmth set within thick stone. The glow reaches only a short distance across the ground before dissolving into indigo shadow. The pony shifts its weight once, a small redistribution through its legs before becoming still again. Its breath rises and fades in faint threads, visible for a moment before merging with the night air. The air has settled. No breeze crosses the valley at this hour. The grasses stand upright and unmoving. The stream's murmur remains steady and low, now more noticeable in the absence of wind. It moves unseen through the dark, consistent and unbroken. The horizon flattens into shadow. Indigo gives way to a darker tone that begins to suggest the coming of full night. A single faint star appears high overhead, then another slightly to the east. They hold steady without flicker. The surrounding slopes are now only shapes, soft outlines against darker sky. The ridge you crossed earlier is no longer visible in detail. It has folded quietly into shadow. You rest your hand once more against the pony's neck. Its warmth contrasts gently with the cool air. The steady rise and fall of breath beneath your palm remains unchanged. The pony stands without tension, ears relaxed, body grounded. The earth beneath your boots feels firm and dependable. No sound carries from within the cottage. No door opens. No voice breaks the stillness. The journey settles without declaration. The road remains behind you. The cottage light holds steady. Warm breath beneath your hand. Cool night air around you. Night settles evenly across the valley, and the rest will carry itself.